Hi, this is John Smelcer. This is the coffee house where I've been writing for about a year now. And what I want to talk to you about today was sending your work out to be published. If you're interested in sending your work out, all it really takes nowadays is a computer. 90% of all submissions are electronic nowadays. And some places you can still mail in an actual envelope with your poems and a cover letter. But even that's, kind of fading. Even with Rosebud, we were pretty old school, but we've gone to online submission now as well. So here's what I want to say. As someone who's been an editor of magazines for about 25 years, 30 years, if you count places where I served as a poetry editor even before Rosebud, so about 30 years or more. And here's how it goes. Your envelope comes in, but so does hundreds and even thousands of other envelopes, each containing 1 to 5 poems and a cover letter. And they pile up sometimes to where there's 100 at a time. And finally, as a poetry editor, I would grab that pile and I would take it to a coffee house like this one. And I would sit down with my cup of coffee and I would go through them. And in about an hour or two, I would go through them all. So think about that. That's about an envelope every minute. So that's grabbing an envelope, ripping it open, pulling out, glancing at the cover letter. And I say glancing because there's nothing you're going to say in a cover letter that's going to make your poems good if they're not good. So what really matters is the poems. So I glance only for a second. I go to the first poem. Now, to give you some advice, always put what you think is your strongest poem page 1. Because if your best poem's on page 5 and they didn't like anything, by the time they get to page 5, they're probably not even going to read it. They're probably not even going to read it. They've already figured, this isn't a very good writer. So put your best work forward. Then they'll take that, they'll take 30 seconds to read a one-page poem, which is about all it takes, right? To read a poem, 30 seconds. And that's it. It'll either click with them as, ooh, this is good, or it won't. And then they'll give a few seconds to the next page. But really, after a page or two, if nothing is clicked, they're just going to fold it right back in the envelope with a rejection photocopied note, a little tiny note to save money that says, sorry, it's not for us. Doesn't mean you're a bad poet. It just means you weren't for us this time around. That same publisher might actually forget that they saw your poem once, and a couple years later it's in a batch, and they say they love it. It's really subjective, to be honest. It's very subjective. So you may spend days and weeks and even months or longer working on a batch of poems that you think are really good. You've really worked hard. But I'll be honest, an editor at a journal might spend a minute or minute and a half with your writing before they move on. So just know that's how it works. Keep your chin up. Keep trying. Don't let the rejections get you down. Remember, J.K. Rowling had over 100 rejections for Harry Potter before someone took it. And as you know, the rest is history. One of the biggest selling franchises of a piece of literature in history. So that's it. That's my best advice. All right.